Hi there, this is Bob Burridge, and welcome to another BobBlast. This week it's going to be about the inside your studio and how do you get started. I'm asked this question all this time. How do I get started? Well, first of all, I've already written down my goals for the day in my sketchbook, and I have some ideas, and then I come into the studio and, well, I paint flat on a flat table. And on this flat table, as you can see, I stretch really tightly this 4mm plastic, get it at the hardware store, and I tape it down really tight on the table because it's going to come in handy a little bit later on. And then my paper is all glued down with tape. Just use some tape here. And just tape it down on a board. That way I can move it around, get rid of it, and come in with another painting, usually a series. And so when I talk about a series, I mean doing one over and over and over. It's like practicing. So before I even work on the big painting, I like to work on a series of something. And I'll do many of them, one right after another. Okay? Here's some flowers, here's some flowers. And so I'll do this right here, and I work flat because I use a lot of water. I have a water bucket. Make sure it's really close to the same level. I have my brushes ready to go, and I only put on the table what's going to serve me for the painting. So I don't put on all the colors. So I use my color wheel and pull out my colors that I'm going to be using. That's it. And I have spray bottles of water and one with rubbing alcohol in it. Okay, and so before I start, I review my goals for the painting. So we have what I call the 4 C's, the letter C. The first one is, well, what's the concept? I mean, am I going to be doing a whole bunch of pears or flowers or landscapes? So I write down what the concept. Another way of saying that is, what's the big idea? Okay. Then I get my colors out. That's the second C. The first C is what's the concept. Second C is what's the color. And then the third C is what's the composition, the design. I have a chart that I refer to. You can use anyone's chart, but there's the chart that I use. It has 12 designs on it that helps me in my studio. So I get to pick one. It's a little easier for me, right? And so I walk over here, I know what I'm about to do, and then you continue that series. That's the 4th C. So the first color, what's the concept? What's the color? What's the composition? And then you continue the series over and over and over. And that's how I get started practicing. I'll see you next time. Welcome back to another weekly BobBlast. We're so glad you guys are enjoying them. Got some nice comments, and I'm having a good time seeing you every week too and making these. But we have a fun one this week. It's about how do you paint figures. I hear this all the time also in my workshops. I don't know how to paint stick figures. Well, I can't paint stick figures either. But so I made it easy for myself, and I would like to share with you how it works for me, and we'll do a quick little demo. So before I do any figure paintings, I do a lot of practice, what I call my carrots. And I'm going to show you 2 ways of doing the figures, at least the way I like to do them. One is what I call the carrot, almost looks like a carrot, right, with a dot on the top. And the other one I call and refer to as the Rembrandt Lighting, where the background goes dark to light, and the figure is just the opposite, dark to light, up to the most important part, which was, of course, the Rembrandt portrait. So that's 2 ways I love to do them. So the first thing I like to do, again, is to just set my ink or some paint really loose on a big, fat, round brush. You make the head, and we're going to start pushing down hard on it. That's what's so nice about these soft brushes. And we pretend we're making carrots. And there's your figure done. And then I like to put a little shadow in there so it helps to anchor them. And I do a whole page of these. It's just practicing, remember? We're practicing. So I'm practicing making carrots that happen to look like people. Do a whole row of them on a full sheet sometimes, and make them angular so they don't look so stiff straight up and down, right? There you go. So they look like they have a backpack or they're carrying something. And you just keep on doing them. Remember, the heads, by the way, are small. We all make our heads too big. I wonder why. But anyway, there's your figures. There you go. And notice I haven't connected the head. I do a whole page of these whole things.
It kind of gives the illusion. Of course, that's how we create the illusion. How to create the illusion of them going away is you actually connect the head like this. Now we're connecting the head. See, there's the shoulder. Our heads are down. And we continue to making the shadow. There we go. Underneath each figure. So you have a whole row of figures just like that. That's kind of a fun way of doing that. So practice that on the whole page, full sheet, different sizes, smaller figures. There's your kids. There they are. Maybe mommy holding hand or something like that. There you go. And again, don't forget to anchor them, otherwise they're all floating in space. So that's one way of doing it. The other way I like to do it, what I call the Rembrandt lighting, which would be this one. All right. So the Rembrandt lighting is more of a, think of a big dark room, and the head was the most important part, right? And so there we go. We're going to do a little negative shape painting. Negative shape painting. All right. So we're painting everything. What that means is we're painting everything but the figure at this point. And now we're going to come down in here. Almost a negative shape carrot, right? But here's the thing where it gets a little bit different. Now it gets fun. Because now the bottom part is going to be the legs. Coming down like that. Some legs. There we go. And now with just pure water, we're going to blend the background. Just water. Just blend it. Kind of grace it down. This is Indian ink, by the way, I'm using. There we go. And the background is nice and soft. And the figure remains a little harder. And we'll put a bow tie on him. There you are. Now we have a gentleman magician. And that's how I do my figures. Try this. And I'm going to show you some other ones that I've actually worked a little bit longer on.
So here are some of my daily practices of my little carrots. And you see I start getting a little bit more confident and start adding some color to them just while they're still wet. Just take a dab of color and just stick it right in there. And it kind of starts to paint itself. Then I'll work on a series using the same color combinations for my color wheel. Here are some more small ones. I like to use a mat like this and cover them up and see how they're coming along. It's kind of a nice way to isolate them while they're still on the paper. Then my pieces get larger, more of my color wheel combinations that I like to practice with, and then my larger pieces that I'm working on right now. They're about 18 inches by 18 inches, getting ready for a show, of course. Hey, thanks again for coming by and looking at this week's BobBlast. I'll see you at the next one. Hi, welcome to another BobBlast. I'm Bob Burridge, and this one is about varnishing, how to varnish your painting, and why to varnish your painting. So, the why to varnish. Well, I like to varnish my acrylic paintings while I'm painting, in layers. Because after one layer dries, it dries, and then I can put a varnish on it to see how it's coming along. It's almost like putting oil on your wooden tables. It brings the grain out, it makes it richer. Well, the same thing I've discovered, it also works on paintings too. So in my acrylic paintings, I use a water-based varnish, all different kinds. Everyone's brand is pretty darn good. You've got the water-based. Make sure it's water-based. Golden makes it, Holbein makes it. Here's a Holbein varnish. They come in different shininess. They have glossy, semi-gloss, and they have satin. Your choice, okay? So I go different back and forth. Sometimes it's semi-gloss, sometimes it's satin. It all depends on the piece. But when you put this on, just know that it's water-based, so you don't want to use these kind of brushes that look like they're hog hair brushes that leaves a mark, You want to use a brush that's kind of soft, so it won't leave a mark. So I always like to do something like this, Don't use this brush, always use this brush. Ha 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 ha, right? So always a soft brush. Make sure they're really wide too. You don't get these tiny little ones. They also have these spray fixes for your watercolors and pastels. Believe it or not, this is something not too many people know about. It's a product. It's called it's casein actually, and casein is milk without whey. Okay, and it's made by Spectrafix. It's all natural. Can you believe it? This is the stuff that the Sistine Chapel ceiling was sealed in, and that was in watercolor in wet plaster of Paris. So this stuff really works even today. Spectrafix is the name of this one that I put on all of my pastels. Okay? And we also have, for those of you who like to restore old paintings, this also works well. This is called Dorland's Wax Medium. And you just rub it on just like car wax. Okay? And you rub it in, then you buff it out. So that works pretty well too. It has a really nice soft satin finish to it. So in a minute, I think I'll get over to how I actually do this.
So here I have my soft brush. I wet it first. Okay, wet the brush. It allows the varnish to come off the brush hairs a little easier. Here's my water-based varnish. Make sure you stir it first. Do not shake it. I know we're in the habit of shaking that varnish jar or the can. Don't do that. You shake it. Okay? Otherwise, you're churning up all kinds of air into it. So it looks like 2% milk. Kind of whitish. It will dry optically clear. And here is the secret. One direction. Don't go back and forth. I know you get on the cell phone, you start talking, and you're talking and talking, and you're going back. What you're doing, you're frothing it up. And you're getting air bubbles in there. Put a lot on slowly. Notice how slowly I'm going. Slowly. And now, since I put so much on, go left to right. Start off, start on. Start on, rather. And off. Get all the bubbles off. Now this will dry optically clear, even though it looks kind of milky right now. And in about 15 minutes, 20 minutes or so, it will be dry enough for me to then paint on it. And I'll just keep doing this with several layers. So I paint, varnish, paint, varnish, paint, varnish, until it has that rich, deep look that I'm looking for. So remember, water-based acrylic varnish. This one happens to be satin. You decide.
So after that dries, I will continue painting on it. So it's not usually my last varnish. So I do lots of layers just to make that clear. And then after it dries again, the acrylic dries, I do another layer. So it's almost like building a lasagna, lots of layers, right? And when I'm really finished, I'll do one more final coat of that varnish. And then I know it's finished. So that's it. That's how to varnish and why and how to. Good luck, and I'll see you on the next one. So some of you have been asking about workshops. I have some dates. Let me read them off to you, okay? 2 weeks in Mendocino. Yay! I love going up there. 2 weeks. Woo. The first week, start abstract painting today. Okay, cool. We're going to do that the whole week, and we paint all like crazy. The second week, larger and looser. It's going to be another wonderful week there up in Mendocino. That's July the 17th to the 21st. Okay, then there's Cheap Joe's Art Stuff. Love going there, don't we all? Because the art store is right there. August 21st to the 25th. That's abstract acrylic painting and collage. It's going to be fantastic. We tear a lot of paper and we can have a great time up there. And the art store is right there. Great, huh? And then don't forget 2 Loosen Up workshops coming up in September. That's in Utah, the Watercolor Society in Logan, Utah. Okay, that's September the 11th to the 15th. I can't wait to go there. And Vancouver Island Art Workshop. I've been there before. I love going there. So that's going to be great. That's in September the 25th to the 29th. Sorry I had to read it. I can't memorize all this stuff. I'm just so lucky somebody wrote it down for me. Hey, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you at some of those workshops.